On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
All right, let's dive in. Today, we're unpacking one of the most powerful and, honestly, most misunderstood ideas in the world: Christian forgiveness.
You know, for thousands of years, across a ton of different cultures, the whole idea of forgiveness was basically a transaction. It was rooted in law in exchange. If you did something wrong, you created a debt, and that debt had to be paid. Simple as that.
But then, something happened. A huge shift in thinking that completely turned this idea on its head. Forgiveness went from just, canceling a debt to being this radical, revolutionary act of release. So the question is, how did we get from A to B? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this revolution, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to understand the foundation it was all built on. And for that, our story starts in the Old Testament.
So in the ancient Israelite legal system, sin, well, it wasn't just a simple mistake. It was seen as a serious debt, a debt that literally broke the relationship with a holy God. And because it was so serious, it required a formal, very physical process to pay it back. They called this atonement. And this quote from Leviticus, wow, it really drives home how heavy this all was. Forgiveness was absolutely not cheap. It wasn't easy. It demanded a real, physical, costly sacrifice to, quote, cover over the sin. This just shows you how incredibly serious the offense was.
And this all came to a head in this huge annual ritual called the Day of Atonement. I mean, this was a national event. The whole community was involved. And it was a really graphic, in-your-face demonstration of just how serious sin was and the incredibly high price that had to be paid to get that relationship with God back on track.
But here's the thing. Even inside this really formal, legalistic system, you see these glimmers, these incredible stories of personal forgiveness. I mean, take Joseph, right? His brothers sell him into slavery, and what does he do? He chooses mercy over revenge. It's like a hint, a sign that the spirit of forgiveness, the heart of it, was there all along, just waiting for its moment. Okay, so that's the foundation. Now let's see how that old idea was used to build something completely new. A total reimagining of what forgiveness even is.
And believe it or not, the key to understanding Jesus' totally radical teaching on this, it all comes down to a single word. The original Greek word they used to write down what he said.
That word is aphiemi. And here's what's so cool about it. It wasn't some lofty, religious, or emotional term. Not at all. It was a super practical, legal, and even financial word. It literally meant to release someone from a debt or an obligation they owed you, like canceling a loan.
Okay, so you really have to put yourself in the shoes of the people listening to Jesus. When they heard the word aphiemi, a light bulb would have gone off. For them, that word was electric. It was directly tied to something huge in their culture, the year of Jubilee. This was a radical, society-wide reset button. All debts canceled, all slaves set free. It meant total liberation. And this is the absolute core of the revolution. Jesus takes this idea of forgiveness and completely reframes it. It's not just a transaction anymore. It's an act of radical release. It's about setting people free. And not just the person who's being forgiven, but also the person doing the forgiving, freeing them from the prison of bitterness.
All right, so after Jesus, his followers, guys like the Apostle Paul, they had this amazing new idea. Now they had to figure out, how does this actually work? So they started to build a whole theological framework to explain this new radical understanding of forgiveness.
One of the central ideas they came up with is something called justification. And sticking with the theme, it's another legal term. Seriously, picture a judge in a courtroom slamming the gavel and declaring a defendant not guilty. That's the picture. It's this idea of being declared righteous in God's eyes. Now, exactly how this justification works, well, that's been a huge point of debate for literally centuries. To put it simply, Protestants tend to see it as a one-and-done deal, an immediate declaration you get through faith. The Catholic tradition, on the other hand, has generally seen it more as a lifelong process of becoming righteous.
But despite the theological debates, the so what for everyday life was crystal clear for them. The idea was simple. Because you have received this incredible forgiveness from God, that's the model for how you should forgive other people. It's meant to be a cycle of grace, paying it forward.
Okay, so that's the history, that's the theology. But how do these ancient ideas actually land today? Well, for a lot of people, trying to put forgiveness into practice can be, well, a source of a lot of anxiety and confusion.
Yeah, like this person said in an online discussion, it can be pretty stressful. You're trying to make sure you've checked all the boxes. Like, am I truly sorry enough? It's a lot of pressure. And it really begs the question, what does forgiveness actually look like in real life, on the ground?
What's really interesting is that Jesus himself gave a surprisingly practical, almost step-by-step guide for what to do when someone messes up. He basically says first, go talk to them one-on-one. If that doesn't work, bring a couple of mediators, and only then do you widen the circle. The goal, you see, was always about trying to restore the relationship.
But that brings us to the really tough cases, right? The most challenging question of all. What in the world does forgiveness look like when a relationship just can't be restored? Or, frankly, when it absolutely shouldn't be?
And this is where we have to draw a really, really important line in the sand. Forgiveness is not the same thing as reconciliation. They're two different things. See, forgiveness is an internal thing. It's a choice you make in your own heart to release someone from the debt they owe you. But reconciliation, that's an external, two-way street. It takes both people to rebuild trust. And let's just be real, sometimes that's just not possible. And sometimes it's not even safe.
There's probably no more powerful illustration of this than Nadine Collier. At the bond hearing for the man who murdered her mother and 8 others in the Charleston church shooting, she looked at him and she offered him forgiveness. It was just a stunning, almost unbelievable internal act of release, even while he was facing and would face the full legal consequences for what he did.
I mean, think about that. Her act of forgiveness wasn't her saying, let's ignore justice or let's be friends. No way. It was a profound declaration that she was refusing to be consumed by hatred. It was an act of freedom for her.
And so this whole powerful idea really challenges us, doesn't it? It makes us think about the debts we might be holding on to. I think the big takeaway here is that this posture of forgiveness, this radical release, it's not just about letting the other person off the hook, it's about us. It has the power to reshape our relationships, sure, but maybe more importantly, it has the power to reshape our own hearts.